A couple of years ago, I did a video covering the mistreatment of pretty much every queen, but mostly Pandora Box, on All-Stars 1. Amongst other things in that video, I showed that the original plan for All-Stars 1 had Willem as the 12th contestant instead of Mimiam first. Therefore, the original plan was that there would be 3 queens from each of the first 4 seasons. After All-Stars 1, we did not get an All-Star season up until after season 7, well, season 8 airing-wise. Then we got All-Stars 3 after season 9, and after that, almost every year there was some sort of a version of a returnees season. Some stars 4, 5, and 6, who's available world stars, and now a some winner season. I don't know about you, but when All-Stars 2 was announced, it felt like a big deal. But I can't say the same thing for all the other seasons, even though they had queens that I thoroughly enjoy. Basically, Drag Race ignored that famous Greek proverb that roughly translates to "too much of something is bad enough, but something's coming over me to make me wonder if too much of nothing is just as tough." I think it's great that these queens get to be on TV and are booked and all that. But with the overexposure and oversaturation of seasons, Drag Race just does not seem that special anymore. Again, at least to me. So I got to thinking, what if All Stars hadn't become a yearly season? What if, instead of going for quantity, the show had gone for quality? What if the original idea of 3 queens per season every 4 years competing had been kept? But before we begin, I just want to give a shout out to all of my supporters on Patreon. As I've said last week, I started slowly but surely writing the last couple of episodes of the Heroes vs. Villains series. You can get early access to those if you join as Tier 1 patron. With Tier 2, you can also suggest video ideas, and with Tier 3, you can participate in all of my future videos. So let's go back to the original cast of All-Stars 1. From Season 1 we have Nina Flowers, Chanel, and Tammy Brown. From Season 2 we have Raven, Jujubee, and Pandora Box. From Season 3 it's Manila Luzon, Alexis Mateo, and Yara Sofia. And from Season 4, Chad Michaels, Latrice Royale, and Willem. It seems like the casting was done in a way that each queen represents a certain thing for her season. So we got the obligatory almost one queen. Nina Flowers, Raven, Manila, and Chad. Then there are the miscongenialities. Nina Flowers again, Pandora Box, Yara Sofia, and Latrice Royale. The last of the 3 is what I would describe as the queen that gives the best TV for her season, but also is there for the majority of the season. She is at least a fighting competitor. Chanel, Jujubee, Alexis, and Willem. Obviously, Tammy Brown is the wild card here, but her inclusion makes sense too, given that Nina Flowers covered 2 of the 3 categories. So they kind of had a freebie for Season 1. I assume that Mimi was the wild card first alternate queen for Season 3. We know that Tatiana was that for Season 2. And I believe that Fifi was originally supposed to be on All-Stars 1, but then that Willem was the wild card for that season. Looking at these 3 casting categories and not really paying attention to the wild card queens that are also first alternates, how about we cast the rest of the All-Star seasons? As we've established, let's assume that All-Star seasons happened every couple of years. Now, I want to follow the trend set by the original All-Stars, and only cast after 4 seasons have passed. For the sake of keeping with that trend, I will not be adding any queens from seasons that aren't in the 4 seasons that had come out in the time since the previous All-Stars. However, may I suggest Drag Race does differently themed returnee seasons? I mean, I'll do videos casting those too. Like, I have a video written for the Game Changer season of Drag Race. It's been sitting on my laptop since January. I just have not had the time to make it. I hope I'll be able to make it soon. Let's start with All-Stars 2. For this season, we will be casting queens that competed on seasons 5, 6, 7, and 8. For season 5, our trio consists of Alaska, the queen that almost won the season, Ivy Winters, I'm not doing it, the season's miscongeniality, and for the 3rd queen, I picked Alyssa Edwards. Now, for the good TV that makes it far queen, the queen doesn't have to necessarily be a great competitor, but she just has to have had at least a story about fighting hard in the competition, which is what Alyssa did on season 5. Well, she fought from the bottom. But hey, she sure did fight. From season 6, we have Adore as the queen that almost won, Dela, the Miss Cuckoo, and for the third queen, I chose Courtney act. Obviously, somebody in the comments will say that Courtney will never do All-Stars, RuPaul has her blocked, blah blah blah. Babes, this is a video about casting Drag Race where the showrunners would actually put some thought behind who they cast, and not only casting who's available. You have to suspend your disbelief a little. Courtney was good TV on season 6. Maybe not as big of a personality as some of the other queens, but remember, being loud and in your face isn't always the same as being good TV. For season 7, Ginger and Katya are the obvious first two category picks, and I would say that Kennedy as the third of season 7's trio is an obvious pick as well. For season 8, it was a little hard to decide who I will put in the almost won category. Let's be real. Nobody was winning that season but Bob. Naomi had the best storyline, but a very weak start, which is something that is not valued on Drag Race, while Kimchi, while being good, got favoritism left and right to keep her out of the bottom 2 during crucial moments of the season. Even though Kim had a better track record, I still went with casting Naomi, simply because she's fantastic TV, she's there to play the game, and because legs. Cynthia was this season's Miss Congeniality, so she's here obviously. The last queen I chose for this cast was Gigi. Now, I almost went with Derek because Derry Berry made All-Stars 5 her bitch, and she was only on one episode. However, Chi-Chi, after Naomi, had the best storyline of season 8, and that sort of lovable underdog is always something I like seeing on my screen. Looking at these 12 queens, only 3 haven't been back on All-Stars, those being Ivy, Courtney, and Cynthia. Would Alaska still have won the season? Well, I don't know. Unlike the original All-Stars 2, this season doesn't have too many preseason storylines, or at least not as many as that season did. However, that season did have that many storylines because it was basically a season 5 reunion. But there are enough preseason storylines that going into this season, we can assume that it would be great. Alaska, Ivy, and Alyssa all come from different groups of queens from the season's top 7. So they're basically coming in as the hero, the anti-hero, and the villain archetypes. Season 6 simply has strong competitors, with these 3 queens being the ones to look out for. But Season 7's trio is also very strong. It also helps that the Season 7 queens are the only clear and immediate faction in the cast. Lastly, Season 8's trio is maybe the most random, but that way we know that they would either make alliances with the others more easily, or that they would be forced to align with each other. Storylines between queens that are from different seasons are also present. Alaska and Adore's friendship, Kennedy and Chi-Chi's friendship, Alaska and Courtney's friendship. The immediate thought of having any pair of Alyssa, Kennedy, and Chi-Chi going one-on-one in a lip sync. Need I say more? I mean, maybe I don't have to, but I will continue, because I'm getting excited for this season. There is also this great thing about having pairs of queens where one eliminated another, like Ivy and Alyssa, Katya and Kennedy. In a way, we also have Kennedy and Ginger, but not exactly, of course. Who would have won this season? I'll give you my top 4. Alaska, Dela, Katya, and Naomi. But see, I could easily swap any of these queens with Ivy, Adore, Courtney, Ginger, or Kennedy, and it would all still make sense. That's how you know you have a strong cast on your hands. Let's move on to the hypothetical All-Stars 3. Here, we will be using only the queens from seasons 9, 10, 11, and 12. Let's immediately list the Miss Cuckoos that are on the season. Valentina, Monét Exchange, Nina West, and Heidi in Closet. The queen that almost won season 9 is not going to be Peppermint, but Shea. We all know that Shea would have won the season had the format not been changed last minute because of the fan response to and the lackluster lip syncs of the season. The queen that was good TV, had the best storyline, and fought in the competition is Trinity the Tuck. Trinity more so fought with the preconceived notions that the show and the fandom had, sadly still to this day has, about her. For season 10, the queen that almost won is Eureka. The good TV queen was a little harder to pick. The Vixen and Mo Hart came to mind, so I went with putting Mo on the season. She needs that redemption story she got on All Stars. And then lost on UK versus the World, but let's ignore that. For season 11, we have, alongside Nina West, Brooklyn Hytes, and Vanjie. Brooke could have easily won the season had it not been for like tiny little things that happened here and there, and Vanjie was sort of the protagonist of the season, and she's good TV, so that's why I picked her. Lastly, the season 12 queens would be Gigi Goode, of course, and for the queen that gives good TV, I went with Jan. We need her Rachel Berry energy on the show. Out of this cast, only 7 have appeared on All-Star seasons. We can excuse some absences from Gigi and Heidi, for example, given that there was only one All-Star season they could have been on. Which storylines do we have coming into the season? Well, the feud between Shea and Valentina. Valentina being the reason why Miss Congeniality title was changed from being voted by the fans to being voted by the cast. Then the relation between Shea and Trinity being the 2 queens eliminated in the first ever lip sync for the crown. For season 10 there isn't much, but we did see on All Stars 4 that Mo and Monét had a connection, so their friendship of course comes into play. For season 11, of course, the storyline between Brooke and Vanjie is present. And for season 12, the mere thought of Jan turning into a jealous mess anytime Gigi gets even an ounce of a compliment would make really entertaining viewing. The top 4, Shea, Trinity, Brooke, and Gigi or Monét. I think that this cast isn't as strong as the previous one, but it's diverse enough not to be boring. Lastly, even though we still haven't watched season 15 and 16, let's cast the queens from seasons 13 and 14. The season 13 trio, I think, would be Rosé, Lala, and then either Gottmik or Denali, but I went with Denali just because of the amount of mistreatment that she received on the season. For season 14, let's go with Camden, Cornbread, and Busco. Now, let's see what my supporters on Patreon had to say about this topic, and also how they answered some of the questions that you will also be asked in the outro of this video. Max, first answering the what if question of the title of the video, said, and I quote, "Well, All-Stars 2 would probably not had Coco and Alyssa on there. If we're going after the runner-ups plus Miss Congeniality, we would have Alaska, Roxy, Adore, Ginger, and Katya still, but there would also be Ivy Winters, Courtney Act, BenDeLaCreme, and Pearl, plus one queen from pre-season 5, maybe Fifi, since season 4 had the last queens on All-Stars 1. On the other hand, Velvet Condoms, I still cannot get over that name, answered the questions that, again, you will hear in the outro of this video. They said, and I quote, "I don't think that the title of All-Star has lost its meaning, because the meaning has always been questionable. I mean, the first 2 seasons were basically rigged, the 3rd and 4th season caved in on themselves, the 5th season was very rigged, and it was only in the 6th All-Star season that it feels like the season was either not rigged or caving in on itself. So I don't think that the title has lost meaning, because that title never had much meaning to begin with." They also then add this, "I don't think they should make All-Stars less frequent, but I do think that having a thematic one is a good palate cleanser. For example, All-Star 7 feels less exhausting by being an all-winner season. It's different than the repetitive previous All-Star seasons. I think they should go to a 2-year cycle where 1 year is a regular All-Star season and the other is a themed season, like all winners, first out, medical elimination, people who have beef with Sharon, etc. That was so stupid. Having specialization with a format change really has made it feel less exhausting." Now, with that, I absolutely agree. And that's it. That's the video. Do you think that the title of being an All-Star has lost its meaning? Do you think that the All-Star seasons should be less frequent in order to make them more special? Do you like the casts that I presented to you? Sound off in the comments, and thank you for watching.